For those who aren't familiar, I'll just give a brief overview. My wife was admitted to the hospital emergency room during COVID. The house, my house came down with the virus. Unfortunately, she wasn't getting better, had trouble breathing, and brought her to the hospital, dropped her off. And over the next several weeks, her situation, her condition just kept deteriorating despite the hospital's protocols that they were giving her. And through that process, I was advocating for the use of ivermectin. I myself had wonderful results. I was treated by Dr. Zelenko, and I was better in a matter of a couple of hours after being very sick for 7 days. And my daughter subsequently also was treated by Dr. Zelenko. She improved after a day and a half. So obviously, whatever was in my house reacted very well to these medications. And when I was in the hospital advocating, telling the doctors this, they were adamant that it was a fluke and this stuff doesn't work. Fast forward a couple more weeks, she really took a worse turn, was intubated. And after a while, I said to the doctors, hey, whatever you're doing doesn't work. You've tried everything in your repertoire of protocols. It's time to, if we keep trying the same thing over and over, it's that's called insanity. And doctor looked at me and he said, "You know what? You're right. I'm out of bullets here." That's the infectious disease doctor, and he decided to prescribe ivermectin. Came down and told me so, and he also told me that the hospital blocked the prescription. And this, after a few days, I decided I had no choice, but I had to sue the hospital to get her the ivermectin. And luckily, we got in front of a judge who ordered the ivermectin to be administered for 5 days. And right after that was the first time we saw significant improvements in her condition. All her oxygen requirements on the ventilator came way down. All the, I guess they're called vasopressors, the use of the requirement for that came way down, almost to the point where she had no medication for blood pressure. And she was now, previously was not able to get a tracheotomy, was now able to get a tracheotomy. So in hopes of weaning her off the oxygen and on the road to recovery. And after the 5 days were up, a couple of days went by, and not sure why the doctor wasn't like all over giving a second prescription. But I asked him, I said, I think it's time to get the next round. And he knew I was going to ask, and the hospital asked him if he was going to prescribe it. And I think at that point, he made it very clear to me that the hospital began to threaten his credentials at the hospital to be able to practice there. And he wrote the prescription according to the new FLCCC protocols, which was increased dosage, increased duration. He prescribed it for 35 days instead of 5 days this time for the increased dosage, and came down again and said the hospital blocked it again, which was shocking beyond belief. There was no question she got into a position where they were able to do the surgery. She never would have gotten to this point without the first round of ivermectin. And the hospital in their briefs to the court, the head of medicine there basically said there was no improvement, basically just lying to the court about her condition. I don't think this man ever set foot in her room, to be honest with you. And, the problem with, and this was my only experience going to a hospital and having to sue the hospital to get medicine. It's you have no idea the position you're in. You know, I didn't even know where to begin, but here I am having to sue them a second time to get this. And the problem is, this is not immediate. You know, my wife was in life-threatening condition. You know, every minute mattered, every hour mattered, and each delay was days and days and days, which was not what we needed. And they consistently, continuously interfered with this doctor who was trying to give my wife ivermectin, which was the only time that she had improvements that were substantial like this. And you know, we got it a second round, and we found out that you know, the judge ordered the prescription to be administered again. I guess someone from the hospital went and changed the prescription from 35 days to 5 days. And why that's important is they also told the infectious disease doctor that he was no longer allowed to prescribe ivermectin. So we could not get anyone in the hospital to prescribe the medicine again. And we went to court the third time, and unfortunately, while we were in the court, after several days delay again, my wife didn't make it. So that's what happened. And I think beyond my wildest dreams would never, ever think that I would go to a hospital myself or drop a loved one off and feel like they were captured behind enemy lines. That's what happened there. And, you know, she passed away, and I spent almost 2 years, because that's how long you have for a wrongful death malpractice suit in New York, talking to many, many attorneys. And nobody wanted to touch this case. When they hear COVID, they hear ivermectin, it's almost like some kind of political football to them. You know, they just, you know, and then there were so many state immunity laws, and you know, and then you have this PrEP Act, you know, which is pretty evil. Anyway, I spent 2 years looking for an attorney, and I got, everyone told me, no, you can't win this, and even if you won, you got to go to 2 rounds of appeals, and we can't do that. This is very expensive. And I'll tell you what, I refused to back down. I refused to give up. And I met a couple of gentlemen through this show, actually. And they told me, you know, Scott, if we have to help you file your own lawsuit, you're going to do it. We're going to help you with that. And that's, you know, it sounds like a daunting task, but I was prepared to do that. You know, we started working on something, and I got wind of a conference down in Atlanta last year. It was the COVID litigation conference, and you know, I was sitting there thinking, gee, I really should go to this, because I'm going to need as much information from a legal perspective as I possibly can absorb and be a sponge. And you know, just amazing how I was guided to this conference. And all those thoughts started creeping in that week. You know, what are you going to do at this conference? You're not a doctor. You're not an attorney. You know, all these thoughts. And then I got a text one night, 3 days before the conference, from one of the gentlemen helping me with the lawsuit. And he said, you're going, right, to the conference? And I didn't even book the trip yet. It was 3 days away. And I looked at that and I said, yes, I am going. And thank God I went. You know, I finally arrived at this conference, and I felt like I was with my tribe. These attorneys that were there were in the fight against the whole COVID gamut of issues, you know, from the protocols, the hospitals, to the vaccines. These were fighters. These were the people I was looking for 2 years. And I sat at a table, and there was an attorney sitting at the table, and he looked at my name tag, and he asked me what law firm I'm with. And I said, I'm not with a law firm. And I told him my story. And this man, this attorney, was very interested in the case. And when we got back, he asked me for some more information. And thankfully, he believes in the case. He believed in it. And what happened was very wrong. Just never should have happened. Never should happen to another person. And we filed our lawsuit and our complaint against the hospital with a few days to spare with the statute of limitations. And fast forward to a few weeks ago, the hospital made a motion to dismiss the case, which, had nothing to do with the facts of the case. They tried to use what's called the PrEP Act, which basically, in a nutshell, says that any healthcare provider, hospital, whatever, they have full immunity for administering anything during a medical emergency. And what my brilliant attorney argued and showed case law that was decided that no, this is not giving the hospital immunity for withholding life-saving medication. And thankfully, the judge, she was adamant about her decision, decided that this case can proceed. This is not covered under the PrEP Act. The hospital does not have immunity for withholding life-saving medication and allowing for my wife to recover and potentially be cured. And we're very pleased. We are very grateful that we can now proceed with our lawsuit. And that's where we are today with that process.
Wow. Can I make a comment for a moment?
No.
Yeah. All right. So,
yeah.
This was clearly premeditated murder, without any exaggeration, without any dramatic. The reasons for this mass murder are still, debatable, right? I mean, have some basic ideas, but it's like demons took over everything, every important position, every important decision-making position in our society, not just in the hospitals, but in society. It's like they took over. And now that, people are seeing what they are, they're hoping and praying, and they're counting on regular people being regular people and just forgiving and forgetting and moving on with life like regular people have they have an instinct to do. Just like, we can't be full of anger and hatred, and you want to go and move on. You want to go, you want to spend time with your family, and that's what they're counting on. They're counting on that mindset to prevail, so that they can get away with their crime, so that they can regroup and do it again even better and harder, because that's what they are. That's who they are. And I pray that you never, ever stop trying to destroy them. Hurt them as badly as you possibly can with every ounce of your strength, to your last breath. Hurt them as much as you possibly can, okay? And hopefully you inspire others to be as vindictive as possible against these monsters who deserve much worse. And but certainly this has to be the this has to be it. This has to be the line drawn to destroy these creatures forever. Just so that future humanity can be in a better position, because we have to recognize who did this and how they did it and what they counted on. to be successful. So hurt them. I pray to God that He gives you the strength to be as angry as possible and to hurt them as badly as you are able to. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Well, I tell you this, you know, I watch comments because I've done a couple of these podcasts, and I watch the comments, and people are thirsty for accountability, you know, and as my family is, but I think we've come to realize, I know I've come to realize this has gotten to be way beyond just what happened to my wife and what happened to my family. The stories are sickening, and there are so many that I know suffered similar fates and circumstances that we did. And yeah, I tell you, these cases, they're not cheap. This is you know, this is stretching us, and we've gotten some help. We've launched a Give, Send, Go, which hopefully, whether people want to just say a kind word, leave a prayer, or make a small donation, it goes a long way. Lowell, I know, has the links, so he'll post that below. But this, I'm at the point where I will liquidate every single asset I have and not stop fighting till the very end with this. Because what happened here was so wrong, never should have happened, and can never happen again. Never be allowed to happen again. So I'm in for the long haul here, no matter what happens. And nothing good comes easy. And I've had the most excruciating circumstances in my life where I've watched mountains be moved for me by God. And this one is no different. I have complete faith that we're doing what we're supposed to do. I didn't ask to be brought to this battlefield, but here we are. And you know, I appreciate shows like this where, you know, we could come on and discuss this. And you know, ultimately, the people at the top are completely outnumbered by us. Well, there are way more people like us than them. And I think, you know, it's like you said, Frank, most people get discouraged and think it's just too much. Let's let things be done and move on with our lives and do nothing about this. And I'm here to just tell you, don't give up fighting for what you believe in. And don't take no for an answer, because I certainly am not going to take no for an answer.
Scott, how are you? I don't know if I met you before, maybe once before.
Maybe, yes.
I guess I'm Frank's kind of partner in crime. We have our show that we do. We talk about these things in depth, more so than we can even talk about them here. And kind of coming in the middle of this conversation, but I just wanted to say, you know, like I was watching the circus-like hearing of Fauci yesterday. You know, I don't know how long it was, 5 hours, 6 hours. I just caught some of the highlights, you know, the Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that how he's supposed to be tried for crimes against humanity. And then I think it was Jim Jordan having a back and forth with him about, you know, his stuff. And, you know, I noticed Fauci's trying to use this kind of Jedi mind trick, Frank and I call Gnostic fruitcake Jedi mind trick to tell people basically, you know, no matter what you show him, his own words, you know, what he said or what he believes and what he's emailed, what he's said in public on the media, he literally says, no, I literally have said and believe the opposite of what you're showing me that are my own words. It's literally insanity. It's like total, it's beyond gaslighting. It's just complete, like, and people just eat it up. And I'm wondering, like, you know, here you have these guys who are grilling him and do say that, you know, he's supposed to be tried for these crimes in Nuremberg and all this stuff. But nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. And I feel like you said, there's more of us and there are of them. And I, by the way, include there's more of us than there are of the so-called Republican people that are grilling Fauci. So it's going to just take us to figure this out. A combination of us and also a combination of just some miracles. I mean,
Yeah.
Frank likes to say that it's only going to be, Mashiach himself who's just going to come and just fix all this because he doesn't see, he doesn't see anything but supernatural intervention. He doesn't, we don't have a legal system anymore, as you could see with this whole Trump thing. We don't have law enforcement, real law enforcement. We have thugs walking around, harassing people for parking on the wrong street, but they can't prosecute real criminals. So it's gonna have to be us.
Yeah.
I was one more thing. I was just talking to people in a Twitter chat yesterday. I don't know if you guys know who Itana Hecht is. She has like a blog, also a Substack, and she talks about Israel, also the vaccine. She's kind of on our side, and she is on our side. And I mentioned in this Twitter space that, because somebody mentioned the Twitter space was supposed to be about Israel, the situation in Israel, but then a few of the ladies started talking about the vaccine stuff and how horrible it is. And this one guy in the comments said, "Oh, I came here for Israel chat, and now you guys are talking about this vaccine nonsense." And I chimed in the audio and I said, "Listen, this is all connected. The same people that have convinced these college kids that Zionism is racism and that Israel doesn't belong to the Jews and that to the point where you can't talk to them. It's like talking to zombies. It's the same Gnostic brainwash. It's the same darkness that's convinced them, that has convinced people to not be able to look at everything that's going on with what we saw during COVID. It's the same source. It's just a matter of how they direct it and how they kind of, and Netanyahu's a different conversation a little bit. Frank and I spoke about it yesterday. He's a little bit, we don't give him a pass, but it's a little bit more nuanced with him and with just certain people in Israel. But it's all connected, really. It's a spiritual issue. It's been a spiritual psyop from the very beginning, and it's continuing. Just like with Israel, with everything that happened October 7th, he tried to tell people, "Hey, man, how come nobody showed up for 7 hours?" Well, I had friends, Israelis. Yeah, there were 2 helicopters, going back and forth to refuel. And I'm just like, are you guys nuts? Like, you can't, people are just, they're not seeing it. They didn't see it during COVID. They're not seeing it now. And you're wondering, what is this? Seemingly normal people, but we have a spiritual attack. Rabbi Bartzada calls it a psychic attack. So, just wanted to mention that.
I just wanted to say, in addition to add to what Greg is saying, that the return fire that we can give them is also spiritual. Where again, Fauci and that whole clown show, right? That hearing, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's grilling him, and all these guys are always getting grilled, and nothing ever happens to them, and nothing ever will. And everybody in Washington cannot be trusted in the slightest, especially the Republicans, because they tell us what we want to hear, but they never do any of it. And at least the Democrats are open about their evil. And so who's more dangerous, right? The snake that you see or the snake that you don't? And they're all working together, and nothing will ever happen. Okay, it's all a clown show, and it's all used to kind of, depressurize a lazy public. Okay, so the only thing that we got going for us outside of supernatural intervention is anger and vindictiveness. Okay, they're not counting on people, like I said before. They just want people to kind of, good people will be good people. They're counting on good people being good people, being forgiving and moving on with their lives and not being filled with hate and with rage. But I recommend, and I highly hope that everyone is filled with infinite rage, and it just dedicates every aspect of their life to the destruction of those who try to kill us and hurt and killed our loved ones in a very rough way, in a very lonely way. Okay, I want us to never forgive, to never forget, and to hurt them as much as possible. Whatever power we have, if you can, if you could give them a rash, give them a rash. If you could blow their head off, do that too. Whatever. Like I feel, I'm supposed to say metaphorically speaking, but whatever anybody can do to harm these people and get away with it is what they should do. Everyone should be petty, angry, full of bile and hate, and channel it all upon the demons that tried to kill us forever. Okay, that's what we can do while we're waiting for the supernatural intervention. Nice positive message.
Frank, I just want to say, Fauci yesterday, speaking of Fauci, they got him to, this one Democrat lady started talking to him. She was like coddling him. I don't know if you guys saw this. She was like, "Oh, did people threaten you during this entire time?" Yes. And he's like, "Yes, the people threaten to kill you. And how do you feel?" And he started almost like tearing up. And it's just astounding how there's someone out there trying to make him look human and feel bad for him. And I just want to say we should make him cry more, even if it's crocodile tears. We should threaten him more. We should make him cry more. We should make, people like this lady have to defend him more. And there was even the Republican guy who opened the proceedings. He was like, "I just want to say, you did a great service for the country, prior to all this, and I don't want to take this away from you." And then he went into this whole like Columbo, but one more thing, and then he went into like the negative stuff. But I'm thinking to myself, why is he even telling this guy? Why is he singing his praises prior to admonishing him? Why is he saying that he's good? Why didn't he mention the stuff that he did to AIDS patients, which he did the same thing to COVID with the AZT stuff? He didn't mention that. So I realized they're all on the same side.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, look, you know what? There is politics aside, because I don't think what happened here is a political issue, left or right. I think what we're most pleased about is we're going to get an opportunity to present our case in front of 12 average, normal Americans and state the facts and the truth of what the hospital did. They went on an all-out, all hands on deck effort to deny my wife the ability to recover in the hospital. And that's not political. There's nothing, there are no politics. I don't care what your position is with the vaccines, with the protocols. It just doesn't matter here, And there are many issues, and Frank, or you just said, look, this stuff's all connected, but it's true that a lot of this is connected, because when I was in the hospital, I remember discussing, giving my wife the ivermectin, and I remember one of the doctors starts citing some of these medical journals. I remember it was one of them about hydroxychloroquine. The Lancet report, the Lancet papers, and I remember reading that they had to retract that study because it was fraudulent. And I told the doctor this, and the doctor's like, "Oh, really?" And then he goes on to the next one. But what ends up happening is all this information just starts filtering down, and then I watch it in real time play out, and it's horrifying. It's horrifying to think that this could happen in our country, where you go to a hospital and it's anything but what you would expect, where you expect people to do everything and anything to save you, to save your loved one, especially when they're on death's door. What do you got to lose? Yeah, horrifying. Horrifying.
I just want to say, Scott, to what you're saying, I mean, what I realized during this whole thing, I mean, I even knew it before COVID, but it really became evident that, and I just want to preface by saying there's a lot of good doctors out there. There are, whether they are specialists or, general practitioners. internists, whatever you call them. But one thing I realized is like with the exception of maybe surgeons and like specialists in certain things, like high level, what you call specialists in certain things, most doctors like haven't a clue. They literally, it's almost like they work on a conveyor belt, especially the ones that, in hospitals, and they haven't, like this guy, he didn't know about that the study was retracted. You literally had to, it's almost like we became the professors and the doctors became our students if they wanted to be.
That's right.
Most did not want to be because doctors, they're not going to be your student. If you come to a doctor with a question that you got based on something you read on WebMD, you're gonna get a flamethrower to your face if you're lucky, And
I felt like I went to nurse training school. By the time this
Yeah.
was over, I had so much information about
Yeah.
medical stuff. That's why I was like, I guess if I have to file my own lawsuit, I'm going to learn all about law too. I mean,
Sure.
I was
Sure,
prepared to do whatever was necessary because, like I said, I wasn't going to
Yeah.
back down from this, and I don't plan to ever.
Yeah. I mean, we have another guy on the show. I don't know if you know him. I forget his name. Lowell, you can tell me. He did his pro se. He learned how to basically be a lawyer. The pro se lawsuits
Yeah,
about masks.
Yeah,
let
Aaron Abadi
that was
Abadi, yeah.
Uriel Ben Mordechai,
and
and
Uriel.
his
Yes.
wife believes that he was murdered. He didn't die of natural causes because of giving so much trouble to the powers that be here. And our minute, she's coming on to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly when. We haven't.
No, but it was also Aaron Abadi in New York.
Yes, he
was
was
suing
working with
Yeah.
Uriel Ben Mordechai together. And Adi, his widow, will be speaking on Tuesday, July 30th. She's participated in some of the programs. She said he didn't die of natural causes. He wasn't found dead in the apartment. The coroner's report said it was unnatural causes. I said, are you saying that Uriel was murdered? She said, yeah, he was giving a lot of people trouble in the powers that be here and the powers that be there. And I do want to talk about that. So I said, okay, come on. So she'll be on. And Professor Bhakti will be appearing also in July with Lala. They're discussing viruses and bacteria. That will be on, I'll tell you exactly when. Tuesday, July 16th. So we continue up. What Tzvi was saying, Scott, is that our time is limited to 101.5 hours, whereas on the program that they have on the Nation of Israel, there are no time limits. The sages, I mean that seriously, Frank and Tzvi, can talk for several hours. So you can really go into details. And yes, that's Uriel Ben Mordechai. And Adi claims that he was murdered. And she's going to talk about that. Let me go back up to the gallery. Yes, that's him and Aaron Abadi, his partner.
Yeah, and Aaron and Uriel are who I met here on this show, and they were the ones that were, convincing me like not to give up. And if I have to file a lawsuit, they will help me, and I'll never forget them. My path on this journey has been crossed with some of the most amazing people, including them, Dr. Zelenko and Dr. Pierre Corey, who happened to get involved with the first few lawsuits, and he's an expert witness in our current case as well. So, like, I just know there are good people. There are a lot of good people, and it takes us, the people, to fight back and not give in to what I would say is this medical tyranny. Just overrun. And look, these doctors, they were good doctors. I'm not going to say anything bad about the nurses, the doctors, but at the end of the day, when the doctors see improvements such as the ones we saw after the first round of ivermectin, to stay in your lane just to protect your financial, your family's well-being, and not step out of lane to do what's right for the patient, that's not okay. It's not okay to just say, yeah, well, I'm just following the hospital's orders. It's just not okay.
Not okay. And Scott, if you want to come on our show anytime, we do a show on it's aired on Tuesday nights, but we usually do it beforehand. It's featured on Clout Hub. You know, you ever heard of Todd Callender? He's an attorney who's handling military cases of people who were discharged because they didn't want to take the vaccines, and he's handling the cases. Great guy, and it's his platform, Clout Hub. We've been doing a podcast on it, and we've been getting some visibility on it. So you can come on whenever you want. Just let us know.
Hopefully this we'll have some more good news to give over the next several months, although nothing moves too quickly in these cases. So it's just
they slow it down.
Yeah.
It's all it's slow, and they hope that they could use that to their advantage because people calm down and they move on, and God forbid that ever happens. I know it sounds like negativity to tell people to stay vindictive, but if you channel it right, then it's righteous. Okay. Mm-hmm. Everything that we're given by God, it's I was taught that everything can be used, almost everything can be used to serve God, and as long as you channel it right, it's like fire. You can use it to cook your food, or you can use it to harm people. You could use a knife. You could use it to to chop your vegetables, or to cut the rope when you need it, or the other way around. So everything that we're given, especially spiritual energy, emotional energy, it has to be channeled and never wasted. And revenge is part of that. And never have there been a people who deserve it more than the people who have harmed so many of us.
Scott, I want to ask you a question. You mentioned this is going to be in front of a jury. When does the litigation actually begin?
Now I guess the next step is the hospital has to answer our complaint because they haven't even answered. So I guess
complaint was
next. Yeah, and then I guess we move into the discovery process. Where
wow, so okay.
Yeah, we get to
So this is the begin. This is only the beginning.
Yeah, we got past a major hurdle, and that was battling the PrEP Act, because a lot of cases do get bounced from this PrEP Act, but thankfully, like I said, the judge denied their motion, and
I'm just curious, who is the judge, and also who's your lawyer?
So my attorney is Stephen Warshawski.
Okay.
And the judge, I think her name is Marber. I don't want to misstep on the first name, but Judge Marber, who was the same judge we had in the first couple of rounds when my wife was in the hospital. So this is kind of a continuation, really, of the origin of this, and just now is moved into this wrongful death phase.
Sure. Gotcha. It's incredible. Yeah. No,
if you go and the orders, there's a lot of information on the Give, Send, Go on the updates. So people go there, they can see how the judge ordered and all that stuff.
Did you post that? If you want to post that in the chat here, in the Zoom chat, and then we'll post it in the
yes, I will do that now.
Rumble and all that stuff.
And if people just go to givesendgo .com/GA64V, that'll bring you to our page, and I will put it in the chat as well as we speak. GA64V.
I just went. Oh, there we go. I found it. Okay. Sorry there. Yeah, so we'll flash that on. We'll post that on the video.
Yeah.
It's
Appreciate
amazing to me that, you know, it's like it's funny that I'm asking you, you know, who the, you know, well, who the judge is, because we live in a kind of a banana republic with that, where you're basically have to, it all depends on who that is. There's no more actual law, rule of law. So you have to get just a judge that, like, you know.
Yeah, I get that. You know,
Yeah,
look, you're
yeah.
always concerned about that, but I will tell you from the very beginning, she listened to our case, and you know, with the mounds of evidence of studies that were presented to her by the FLCCC, Dr. Corey's group,
Sure.
you know, she looked at it. She's like, "Yeah, what do we got to lose? You got to give her the medicine." You know, and that was twice. You know, 2 times. You know, so I think you know, we have someone here who's a reasonable person. That's, you know, and certainly you know, wants to do what's right. So I don't have any issues with who we're in front of. And listen, at the end of the day, you know, it's all about faith.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because this stuff's in God's hands. You know, that's really what it comes down to. And look, I could stay angry. I got every reason to be angry, vindictive, but you know, and Frank, no disrespect, but for me, that's poison. That will poison my soul. And
I would,
you
like,
know, I just want to, you know, say, like, that's a motivating factor to carry out what needs to be carried out here. But yeah, I think if you asked me, you know, over 3 years ago, what good can come out of any of this?
yeah, I'd like to add
I'd say
something
you're
to that.
crazy. I'd say you were crazy, but you know what? I will tell you this. There have been some amazing and beautiful things that have transpired over the last 3 years. And I'm going to latch on to the good things here, because I can't dwell in that space, you know. And so, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect at all about my comments there at all.
You're entitled to your opinion. You know, we can agree to disagree, but it's more. Look, like I said, everything, if it's channeled right, can be used for, you know, for the best possible purposes, where it doesn't have to poison your soul or poison anybody else. But justice we have to seek justice like obsessively, because that's how we got to this point in the first place, because we let everything slide. We get distracted by our life, and we don't want to be bogged down by negativity. But, you know, that's why Americans, in a certain sense, they kind of took a step back from getting involved with civics. You know, let the politicians deal with that. Let them. I want to live my life. I want to be, you know, I don't want to, you know, I'm working already, and I want to spend some time with my kids. I'm not going to go and get involved with the city council. And we let the evil people take over and that's part of the reason why we're in this mess in the first place. So if we get a little bit, you know, obsessive about justice, only good can come of that.
I would like to add something here, and it won't take that long because we have 13 minutes left, and I want you to conclude. And this is saying, in the name of the Colonel, NYU Law Review 1949, these issues are, emotions and feelings are irrelevant. It's very simple. Under Torah and Noahide law, the punishment for theft, murder, and rape, well, is death. That's Noahide law. With theft under Torah law, it's a little bit different. But in the cases of how that would apply in mass theft, I don't know. Punishments that are not carried out by the earthly court will be carried out by the heavenly court. It is absolutely critical for the survival of a society that people engaged in theft, murder, and rape be put to death. Whether they do it directly or through a proxy, such as a foundation or a corporation, which is the straw man like Abraham with the idols, say, well, Daddy, the idols had a fight, they destroyed each other. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. The corporation, the foundation, that's not applicable in Jewish law. Whether you commit murder directly or through a corporation, you're liable for the death penalty. So if we're dealing here with medical mass murder, and one of the reasons you get this talk show in Satan's Swamp on the Potomac is that at a certain point, almost all of them are involved with it. And therefore, they want to go through the motions of giving their slave. It's like the pigs in Animal Farm. Yes, they want, all animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others. So the pigs say, wait a minute, the horses, the donkeys, they're getting upset. We have to have a show trial and pretend to do something so they won't be upset. Then they'll go forget about it. And the cows will go to their cow lick and the horses will have their nose bags filled with oats. That doesn't apply here. That's why we show this film at the beginning of each session, and why I continually say America at a certain point will be under military administration, not this fake military, but the real military. And there'll be military trials. Well, that's what didn't happen in Japan after World War II. MacArthur made a deal with the Japanese. We won't prosecute the doctors involved. They had a unit in Manchuria doing medical war crimes, much bigger than anything the Germans had. And in fact, the head doctor in that unit, Frank wrote about it on his Twitter feed, became head of the Medical Association Japan. He should have been shot or hung, or he should have been helped to leave this planet. It was a medical mass murder. So the deal was made. In the long run, when you're dealing with God's moral law, there are no deals. If judgment, and also don't expect the regular courts to deal with this. Many of them are complicit themselves, or it's just over their heads, or they don't want to take on the powers that be, or well, if you do that, your mother might get murdered. What happened to Tulsi Gabbard recently? Was that her aunt? So people are scared. When you have a country that's run by crime families like the United States is, and most countries are, if judgment is not carried out by the earthly courts, they will be carried out by the heavenly courts. It can be a Katrina, a Sandy, asteroids, Chelyabinsk, 1908 in Tunguska. Don't worry, the clock is ticking. If the earthly courts, and I don't believe it will be the regular court system, America has to be under military administration. And I think President Trump can do it. And they're really afraid of him because he means business. It's not an issue of Democrats or Republicans. Most of them stink or are complicit at some point. And that's why they're going through the motions, the pigs and the Animal Farm over there in the Satan Swamp, the Potomac, to give the slave populations the feeling, it's not kosher, it's kosher style. Let's pretend, we have a democracy and we have a court system, and you can let off steam and maybe you'll forget. If that happens, he doesn't forget. And also notice what is in this week's Parsha Bamidbar. I just noticed it today when I was looking at it. Why is the reason that an order of battle is being taken for the tribes? The princes of the tribes, and how many men for what? This is my working version. Every tribe, all that were able to what? Go forth to war. That's repeated in 12 times, tribe by tribe. Who is ready to go forth for war? This is war. This is legal war. This is life and death war. If they are not stopped now, they will continue to phase 2 because they have their plan for 2030 to wipe out 90%. This is, Frank talks about speech, Maurice Strong, Rockefeller. There's a whole paper trail here. You don't have to have Gene Hackman and the French connection try to figure it out. They left all the documents themselves. Like one of those two guys who tried to do the perfect murder. Those two boys, unfortunately, were Jewish in Chicago, and one of them left the glasses at the, what were their names? It was about 1900. That's a famous movie. Was with what were the names? It's a very famous story, and they decided they're going to commit the perfect murder, which was perfect, except that one of them left their glasses at the crime scene, and Clarence Darrow was hired by their rich Jewish parents to defend them, and I don't know how he got them off. They were murderers. They murdered a boy from a school. They were also gay lovers. That's neither here nor there, but it's true. And there are lots of glasses at the scene of the crime, what was it?
Leopold and Loeb.
Yeah,
case.
Leopold and Loeb. And no, Bubby and Zadie, it is not good for the Jews because we know what all the Jew haters will see what they do. So that's reality what happened. So just to repeat myself, it has nothing to do with being vindictive or not vindictive or revenge. Simon Wiesenthal was once asked, why are you doing all this work, the documentation center in Vienna? I met him once in his office there and once here. My father always supported him financially. I got the little newsletters. He says, I am seeking justice for those who are not here to seek it for themselves. That is what Tzvi and Frank are doing for you. And you are doing not just for yourself, but for everyone out there. And the speed at which information is being released, and Pam Popper is doing it, and Dr. Bragan is doing it with Ginger, and Dr. Zelenko did it. Some of them have already been murdered along the way. The one in France, look, what's his name? He didn't die of natural causes. The one in Germany, after he testified, they did their duty. If they die as a martyr for God, fine. In 1943, Leslie Howard, heartthrob, that wasn't his real name. He was Jewish immigrant, Ashkenazi like us. Film star, was sent by Churchill, win over the Portuguese. He went to Portugal, win them over to the Allied side, which he was doing. The Germans got mad. Since the plane was going back over the Bay of Biscayne, Luftwaffe planes came out from the German Luftwaffe station in southern France, shot it down. They denied they did it. The plane crashed, and he died doing his duty. He knew that. We all know that. The enemy knows that. But as Frank and Tzvi said, and you said, there's a lot more of us and more of them, and also people with brains and ability in many areas, like the lawyer who's finally agreed to represent you. The wall of fear is breaking down. The wall of fear is breaking down.
Lowell, can I add something really quick?
Please do. We got 5 minutes left, and they're your minutes before I have to do the grandpa shutoff routine.
I
Because
only
lights
need
out at 8.
Only one of those. I need under one of those minutes. Scott, you're 100% right that it's all in God's hands. Of course it is. But he demands, if you read the Hebrew scripture, if you read, he communicates basic morality that he expects from society. And, whether or not we are successful in what we are attempting to do, that's completely in God's hands. But he demands that we seek it as obsessively as we possibly can. That's what God tasked us to administer justice, to make the attempt as hard as we possibly can, and then he'll do the rest. It's just like the upcoming election. People keep saying, "Well, what's the difference this time? It's still rigged. It's still rigged. How are we going to win, even if we vote?" All this kind. That's not. All we can do. We can go and vote. We can play. My vote is, when I vote for Trump, it's going to be like a prayer. Okay, so if everybody does that, God will, yes, he could work around all the tricks that evil people have put in place. But we have to, like what you're doing, Scott. What you're actually doing, right, is what everybody has to do. So.
Yeah, we're responsible for the effort, not the outcome. That's
of course.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I believe that.
God bless you with success.
Thank you.
You're succeeding just because you're fighting. The process is the perfection. And also, I'm happy to share with you that Frank Zelenko has agreed to be. He's the founder and president of the Zelenko Institute. Why is that necessary? Because we found out, they figured it out quicker than me, but I woke up to it, that now that Dr. Zelenko went home to God, there's a real attempt to present him as a closet Christian or make him a non-person. There are 3 groups that hate Dr. Zelenko. The first two I was aware, but the third I wasn't until Frank spoke about it last week. There is the powers that be, the thug drug companies, Pig Pharma, and those who supported them, the medical mass murder program. They hate him because of what he did, and that is a religious, Hasidic, religious, American, Jewish, Ashkenazi, Eastern European, Yiddish, Jewish success story. There's another side that hates him. Tragically, the people who are coming to leadership in the so-called freedom and health freedom movement, many of them have gone full Nazi. I mean that literally. I'll discuss that. I'm not throwing around terms here. Jews are the anti-race, gegen Rasse, and there are Jews in our movement. Thank you for your contributions. We really don't want you. And they hated him because he was a religious Jew. And some of the worst people had him on their programs, and they can't bear the fact because you're the Christ killer, you're demons, you're reptilians, you're the Khazarians. That doesn't fit our model for you. They hate him. There's a third group that hates him, which I didn't pick up until Frank mentioned, self-hating Jews. You know, the Woody Allen character Jews. Philip Roth, what was his name? The writer, Mordecai Rickless from Canada with what was the other one? Who wrote about it, Isaac Bashevis Singer, self-hating Jews who are ashamed about being Jewish. And here's a guy who looks as Jewish as it gets, Hasidish, religious, Eastern European, Ashkenazi, American Jewish immigrant success story, and they hate that fact. So you have three groups who can't stand the fact that Yiddle B'Tem Fiddle became a world icon. There are people who still write. I see on Frank's Twitter feed posting, thank you, Dr. Zelenko. People sent letters from little villages in Pakistan. Those three groups hate him. So the purpose of the Zelenko Institute, of which Frank is founder and president, is to honor the increasing global awareness of Dr. Zelenko, not just as a doctor and scientist, but as the most Jewishy Eastern European Ashkenaz. That burns them. That's the enemy. You're Khazarian, you're reptilians. You don't understand what these people write. I do, because I research it. They mean business. It can't be. It's like I've given the most famous poem in German is called the Lorelei. Don't ask me what that means. Became the national poem of Germany. Who wrote it? Heinrich Heine. The Nazis couldn't get them to, it's a Star-Spangled Banner. You can't get them to cite, so they would say author unknown. Dr. Zelenko, they can't get rid of the Zelenko protocol, author unknown. Well, we're going to help them with that problem, which is Fiddler on the Roof and Tzvi and Anna Tzvi would make it so Jewish just precisely because it annoys some of them so much they should drop dead from their annoyance and rage because they just can't stand Jews that much. Good. We're going to Jew it in their Jewishy in their face and rub it their noses in the dreck that they are. And I'm sorry to say, I really feel sorry for, I don't want to mention names. I'm thinking of two elderly people, one a man, one a woman, who gave their hearts and souls to the health freedom movements and health movement, and are now discovered that was their whole identity. They're really secular Jews. We're partners unarmed to save humanity. No, wait a minute. Oh, you're Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews. Well, we don't really know about that. And this is a terrible sense of betrayal. How can this be? So I went 2 minutes over the time. Tzvi, Frank, Scott, please make your concluding remarks. Please do go. Not very simple. Literally, there are people who need to face firing squads and gallows for medical mass murder, and that must be a lot of people. Not just the managing directors of the thug companies, but their chief shareholders. You're dealing with medical mass murder here on a scale that dwarfs what was attempted 84 years ago. That's why I played the first clip. The second clip, Frank didn't see it, but he will next time. What's really going on? No one has to be ashamed to say that. There are many people who deserve the death penalty for mass murder. Dr. Fauci is one of them. Dr. Collins is another. And I hope they will meet it in properly constituted military courts. And the Republicans, the Democrats, the Uniparty, they're scared as hell that this gets out of hand where this is going to go. And I'm not in favor of mob justice or frontier justice, but I am in favor of justice. And if it doesn't come from the legal court system, it comes Russian Revolution, Civil War style, which I don't want to see. And when all hell breaks loose, Jews don't want to be in the middle of it. Guess who gets blamed by all sides? So Tzvi, Scott, Frank, would you make some concluding remarks? I don't think the grandchildren are even here. I didn't hear anybody. They may have gone back to their homes. So go ahead and make your concluding remarks, and we'll conclude. Also, one other point. Sharon pointed out, oh, isn't it wonderful? We have a Jewish president in Mexico. No, she's a self-hating, left-wing, Ashkenazi Jewish disaster. As someone posted, she's a female George Soros. She's a disaster. Who's pro-Israel? The Palestinian president of El Salvador, who's a Christian,
exactly.
who's probably descended from Jews that asserted Christianity.
Lebanese,
He's
I hate
Lebanese.
saying anything on here because no matter what I say, it's always something I should not say nothing.
It's not your fault.
I didn't know,
She-
like Melee.
I didn't know either.
Did not know.
Igal told me in the Beit Knesset, I said, oh, that's wonderful. Our friend from Kiev, we got a Jewish president of Mexico. I said, oh my, let me take a look. No, she supports the terrorists.
Anytime a Jew becomes a president of any country, you always got to automatically go look it up and see what's going on over there.
So
it's never
a
good.
friendly Gentile is always better than a court
even
Jew,
even in Israel,
especially in Israel. And Alexander Haig is always better than a Henry Kissinger. So
Scott, you should know,
concluding remarks.
Yes.
Uh,
Scott,
Frank,
you should know that we consider Donald Trump to be the greatest prime minister Israel ever had. By far. Right?
Yeah.
And
By
Rudolph
far.
Giuliani can be the president.
He could be the president.
And General Flynn, the commander-in-chief of what's our current worthless army.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Absolutely.
They're not stuck in
So-
shtetl ghetto Jew think. It's a different kind of thinking. It's totally different. Please, gentlemen,
Yeah,
conclude, because
it's normal.
I gotta shut this down. That doesn't mean you can't keep talking. I just have to shut down the recorded section before I get shut down.
I just want to say
All right.
one short thing. Frank, you spoke about, or we all spoke about the effort, and the only thing that we're supposed to make is the effort, and everything is up to God. I just want to say, without getting too much into a Jewish philosophy discussion, because it's a whole can of worms discussion that Frank and I have had. There's this idea that even if you make effort, and even if, God forbid, God doesn't, or what looks like on the surface, God doesn't let things, so to speak, go your way. We have, lots of literature on the matter that, one in particular, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, who wrote about 300 years ago, he said that if it looks like on the surface that God allows these evil people to succeed, it's only so that they can amass all of these things on their head, all of these crimes and sins, so that later, when there is that supernatural intervention, they will be punished to the maximum. Again, that's a whole discussion, that's a whole why this and why that, but we should know that these people are going to get, like Lowell said, they're going to get their stuff, one way or the other. And if it looks like Fauci's getting off the hook, and if it looks like this person's not even being paid attention to, or not even being spoken about or to, just understand there's an account, there's an accountant, and there's an account. As we say in Hebrew, yesh din, yesh dayan. There's a judgment, and there's a judge. And we just have to do the performative act, as it were. That's our only job. That's it. And everything else is, it's going to get solved one way or the other.
Well put.
That's all I would say. So,
Scott, you want to say concluding words?
Yeah, I just again, I really want to thank you guys for having me on again, and Dr. Zelenko, I always have a special place in my heart. I'm convinced he saved me from that virus, where I probably would have ended up in the hospital with my wife. And what more could I say? He's an American hero. He's a hero.
Yeah.
And for anyone to write anything else is crazy. So, I just ask people, try to get on that Give Send Go if you can. Join us, help us fight this, because this is takes a lot of resources, and we're looking forward to coming back in a few months, hopefully, with some more good news.
Amen.
God willing.
Amen. Thank you for coming on, Scott.
Amen. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, shalom from Jerusalem, New Jersey, Florida, and Oceanside, New York. We will see you next week. Well, not next week is Shavuot. We'll see you in 2 weeks for episode 136.